Hello everybody, welcome to Longbangers. I'm Matty, this is episode 62. I've got the whole gang with us tonight, so first we'll start with you, Craig. How are you doing?
Aye, not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Decent. I've just been watching my youngest daughter put me onto that Stranger Things. I don't know if you've seen that.
Shite.
It's set in the 80s and it's kind of like a horror movie. And I was thinking of doing a remake by making it Rangers Things and just making it a zombie movie. Anyway, that's that one. John, how you doing?
Aye, I'm all right. I realised a couple of days ago that after updating my Twitter picture that years and years, well, in fact, for a good number of years now, I realised that, I felt that people who had Family Guy avatars for profile pictures were normally overweight losers who talked a lot of shite on the internet, and the chickens have come home to roost.
Nice one.
I just thought I'd share.
That's good. Brian, how are you doing?
Aye, fine, aye.
Usual. And you spent the day in the pub, Brian, huh?
I'll be honest with you, I have no regrets.
Always bodes well for a good episode when that happens.
Well, aye, you make more sense when you're drunk, don't you?
I think the interesting thing about this podcast, this is the first one which we're going to play on YouTube with the video of the Skype call that we're recording the podcast. So anybody looking just now will see that we have like a sort of an aging and slightly heavier, no offence, John, Kevin Nisbet. And then aging and slightly heavier Paul Hanlon, no offence, Craig. And then we've got two Ravanellis. Actual age.
What was it they called Ravanelli again? Was it the silver something? The silver feather? Fuck off.
And the silver fox, you know?
Nah.
I think we've got one ravioli.
Here.
The white feather, I'm sure he was.
Oh, the white feather's a good name. It's like the Dashing Blade. Do you mind that for Saturday mornings?
No.
Saturday morning TV, the Dashing Blade. It was like on Going Live or something like this, and it was sort of like a spoof version of the Musketeers, badly dubbed, but dubbed with joke dialogue on instead. It was decent.
You can be Ravanelli. I'm going for more sort of Gunter for Friends. But it's funny you say that John's Kevin Nisbet, because I actually thought that last week, and I don't think I mentioned it to you. So John is Kevin Nisbet.
Fat Kevin Nisbet. I'll go with that.
I found out yesterday my next door neighbour Ken's Kevin Nisbet as well, so I'll be trying to tap him and see if we can get him on the podcast.
Signed shirts, memorabilia, you name it, everything that we can give away for prizes on the show.
Aye, happy days. That's what we'll go for. Right, we've got some victories to talk about. We never had a podcast immediately after the Livingston game just because there wasn't enough time to fit it in before we played Dundee United. So 2 victories to talk about and a bit of a feel-good factor. Craig, how would you describe how you're feeling about the Hibs now?
I honestly don't fucking know. I've never, I don't think I've ever been in this situation. I was thinking about it prior to coming on. And weirdly, when I was watching the Dundee United game, I was thinking, I hope we fuck up here, just so that I've got something to drip and moan about. But I don't know. It's class, isn't it? Hibs are winning. Can't complain. What do I think about what I'm liking about it is we've seen what I think are 3 different performances for Hibs. And as I say, I'm not a big tactical guy, and I know that you will get into that and like how we changed formation and all that, and how that made a difference. But I just it was 3 completely different games. We go up against Kilmarnock, we lose a goal late on in the half, and then we don't play that great second half, but we're scrambling to keep a win. And as we say, last season we'd have lost that, or we'd have at least conceded a goal. But we managed to hold out. We go and we fucking pump Livi. But it could have been anything, I thought. And then Dundee United, I thought Dundee United came out really fast and played really well. But overall, it's one of those games where it's the commentators thing, isn't it? Oh, it's going to take one bit of magic to win the game. And again, we've came up good. So I don't know. My Bobby's red raw. I'm just.
Ryan, how's your Bobby?
Still growing, I hope. Otherwise, I'm in a right bit of bother. But no, I'll be honest. I've distanced myself from it.
What, your Bobby?
My Bobby. I've just not been near it. Whereas normally, can't keep my hands off myself. So,
you're only human.
Aye, I think. I've just gave it a bit of a rest. I think it's nice to have that break from each other for now and again. I'm sure we'll start masturbating furiously soon. Hopefully not on this show, but
not tonight. Fingers crossed. Family audience, etc. There's no family listening to this. Did you see the game, the Dundee United game, Brian? It's always worth asking that question before we ask you for an opinion on it.
I'll be honest. Even if I haven't seen it, I'll just make it up anyway, don't I? No, I'll be honest. I've actually watched all 3 games, and it's been very good. We've won them all. We've never really looked in doubt. All things considered, when it's Hibs you're talking about, I think there's partnerships developing, which I like, and I like Nisbet and Dodge together. I like Gogic and Neil together. I like Hanlon and Poachers together. I like looking at the league table, and I think we're going to win the league. Fuck it.
Quite right. John, what's been the highlight of the last 2 games for you?
Scoring a hat-trick. Playing well yesterday.
Good question.
Forming a new partnership with a striker.
I don't know. How do you pick up a highlight out of 3 games when you've come away with 9 points that the Hibs haven't done since 1974? It's uncharted waters for us. So actually, no, a couple of highlights. Nisbet has got as many goals for Hibs in 3 games as Canberra got in something like 20 for us last year. It took us until Halloween last season to gain the same number of points as we've already got this season. Everything's going in a really good direction. So there's no one particular highlight. There's a series of them because we've started the season really well.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about was the different types of performance that we've seen. So we've covered the Kilmarnock one already, but if you look at how we played against Livingston, and actually kind of through that game, where there was differences in how we played, but then how we went to Dundee United and performed differently again. Craig, what do you think's behind that versatility?
Sorry, Livingston have just scored. I was watching another game there, but versatility. Oh, do you know? It's not so. The versatility is great, and it's good to see Jack Ross talking about it in the sense that it's something that he wants to use, being able to change all these formations and play different teams, depending on how the opposition team play. I think that's what every manager wants to do, but I think we've seen it for however long last season when we stuck with one up front for so long and that, and we're screaming out for playing 2, and it's a change. But I think the thing that's allowing us to do that is the powder puff defence.
So that's powder puff defence.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem that a lot of teams probably find is if they try to change it up and they try and play these different things that they try and train on all the time, sometimes they slip up and they'll lose goals, concede goals, and they might not get, say, a good amount of the game where they're confident in playing in that formation, and then you can't use it further on in the season, maybe due to confidence or maybe just because the manager thinks, that doesn't work, or what have you. But I think the back 4, back 3, whatever we've been playing, have been solid, and that is, Hanlon, Dougie. I think you missed out Paul McGinn there, I think, as well, but I think Paul McGinn's been brilliant as well. And Porteous, I mean, the 4 of them have just, I think they've allowed allowed the kind of middle of the park and the attacking part of the team to kind of freely change and do what they want and be confident that if anything does get lobbed over or anything does get put through or whatever, that we're solid. I mean, we haven't conceded a goal in open play, have we? I mean, I know it's only 3 games, and I get that, but from watching Hibs over the past however many years, how long has it been since we've been able to say something that we're quite confident in the defence and at the back? I don't think it's been any time recently anyway, but it's exciting to see. Like, I think I spoke about it on another episode we've done where I'm always like the nervy one watching Hibs games. Like, I'm always shiting myself 100% butterflies a lot. And even when we've not looked so much the better team, say in the Dundee United game or whatever, I was never worried. Like, the more they, all right, they had a few shite shots, like, but the more they threw at us, the more I thought we looked solid. I can't believe it's fucking Hibs I'm talking about. Honestly, in all honesty, it's just good to see you. I'm happy.
One of the things, John, we were talking about, off air was the impact that Gogic has had on the defence. So, how would you sum up his contribution to the team so far?
How would I sum up?
Hi.
I would sum up by saying that he is the player that I wanted in the middle of the park. Like, I've said this until I'm blue in the face sometimes, that I never just wanted a guy in the middle that would, be breaking people in challenges. And I remember a comment, I think it was a mate of mine at the start of the year said, we can expect a couple of red cards for him. But he's shown that he's more versatile. He probably adds that versatility that we're talking about. He's not just the guy in the middle that breaks up play. He gets forward as well. He's got a bit of flair about him. He suits Hibs. He's a Hibs type player, I think, in a way that perhaps other guys that have been in his position before never really lived up to that role.
He looks like he's buzzing to play for Hibs as well, doesn't he? Like, I don't know if you saw his post-match interview.
I never saw that, but I mean, even just talking about things like his demeanour on the pitch, like he obviously looks a bit scary, but he's got that, like, the shorts halfway down the shins, and the shorts halfway down the shins. Could you imagine? That's very hard to do tripod thing. The socks halfway down the shins, and he's got the wee shin pads on, so he obviously fancies himself a wee bit as a player, but he's no scared to get into a challenge either, and he offers so much. Like, he just he drifts about, and he does simple things really, really well.
Brian,
sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, Brian, Gogic picked up the yellow card quite early on against Dundee United. If I'm honest, I didn't expect him to last the 90. After that, I thought the game was quite physical anyway. There was a good chance he'd get a second yellow. But after that, how would you kind of describe his performance after his booking?
I think after the aerial raiding Mortal Kombat type assault that the Dundee United player committed on the Hibs player, he probably thought, well, there's no chance a fucking red card's going to get handed out tonight, so I didn't think it bothered him, to be honest. But I was a wee bit concerned he was going to get a second yellow after picking, I don't know what time he got his yellow card. That was 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes.
About that.
So I did think he was going to be in bother, same as I thought Joe Newell was going to be in bother, but he was still making challenges, he was still putting his foot in, but I think he I'm not even sure if he adapted his game, because I don't think he's a reckless footballer, but he got on with it as if it never happened. He was still making challenges, still breaking up play, and still knitting it together nicely.
I tell you the one thing that I noticed with Gogic, and it probably goes some way to explaining the sort of the resurgence of Hanlon and Porteous in the middle, is we don't seem to kind of concede many chances centrally. Like, having Gogic there forces all the teams we've played so far out wide, so they have to go wide and then lump in crosses, and of course everything that's coming in from wide is just getting headed away by Porteous and Hanlon now. And that's like probably the biggest thing I noticed with Gogic, aside from the fact he's got that physical presence and he can play, is he's just totally shored up that area of the pitch where last season we didn't have that, and Hanlon was having to come out of position, and Porteous was having to come out of position to try and make tackles or like face up to midfielders, even not even forwards, but they were having to come out and face up to midfielders to stop attacks. But of course, then they're out of position, they're no back in time to stop crosses coming in, and we conceded a lot of goals. So just even from a kind of a tactical perspective, you've got Gogic there, and it just forces other teams out wide.
On just on that point, Matty, one of the things that I picked up on last night in the Dundee United game, I don't know if it was happening on the other side of the pitch, on McGinn and Boyle's side of the pitch, but definitely on Dougie Tripod's side of the pitch. Joe Newell was quite often just sort of tucking in behind him to give him that extra support. So even as much as we were forcing the ball out wide, it was getting shut down there quite often before it even got in.
That's good. Good point.
Why
Brian,
did
you
we call
mentioned
it Dougie Tripod?
Craig.
Because
I don't really know, to be honest. I think it was it's kind of off the top of the head. It was more of a, because we had Deutsch and Doig. I'm the dyslexic one of the group anyway, so I couldn't handle Alan, Malin, Deutsch and Doig, so I just thought, fuck it, call him Dougie, just so we can separate the two. Like, and his brother, I think it's his brother, and he's like, Tripod, because he's obviously got a massive wang, doesn't he?
Oh, has he?
Oh, I mean, you can tell, can't you? The way he's a player, isn't he? Like,
thing of legend, Brian.
do you know? All joking aside, putting his phallical features away. I love the way he drives up the wing, and it's not just that he's got end product, and a lot from what I've seen of the Dundee United game, especially. See the way he cuts in just before the box, and he's not like. His head's always up. He's always looking for a player, but he's not scared to take it on himself and give it a go. And I think, like, maybe not so much for the goal, because I don't think he had the ball at the time when he tried. But he's got no right to be, at 18 years old, bossing a defence, running a wing, and spending half his life in the opposition box. You know what I mean? Being a threat. I just think we've got a player in our hands here, and I think we've got quite a decent amount of contract on him as well, don't we?
I think it's 3 or 4 years.
So just so I can get this right. So because he's... Sorry, I'm trying to square this up. So because he's potential, we're bestowing him with a walloper.
Yes.
I mean...
I don't think we're, like, bestowing him with one, like... Yeah.
we're kind of suggesting that he's already got it.
I mean...
He's all the boy's born with talents, so...
would probably tell you I had an absolute wand of a left foot, but in the same sentence they would tell you I had a cock like a midge's elbow. So I don't know if it's linked. Certainly I missed the boat on that one. If we're equating talent with your
talent
appendage.
and tackle.
Talent and tackle.
Dougie, if you're listening, write in and tell us.
Photos preferably.
If anybody's seen it, if anybody wants to shed some light, we can run a competition.
Guess the length.
Guess the length.
Oh, superb.
Okay. We didn't want any pictures. Just to clarify that, in case anybody's in any doubt, no pictures. Thanks.
But if you're after any big cock pictures, Craig's got a massive stash. He keeps sending me them.
That's my wife that sends me them.
So, Brian, you mentioned the challenge on McGinn.
What was that all about?
Right. The Dundee United manager, who I can't remember if it was Sky or the BBC, called him the magnificently monikered Mickey Mellon, which I thought was a good line. He was complaining that the boy got booked for it. He didn't even think it was a bookable offence. That's a red card. I mean, he's absolutely nailed McGinn. If that's not dangerous, I don't know what is.
It was like Roadrunner. I've never seen anybody run as fast as that in my life, and he skittled him. Yeah, I've not seen or heard the actual quote, so I'm paraphrasing, but I think Mickey Mellon said that was he shouldn't have got booked because he knocked his cell out. So that's fine. Can I get behind the wheel and maim a family of 4? But because I've given myself whiplash, I'm all right. I'll get away with it.
It's a nonsense argument, isn't it?
It's fucking. I actually said at the time, I was in the boozer at the time when it happened, and I actually screamed, "That's a fucking red!" as soon as it happened, because I don't think for a minute. I think it was Robson, their player, that caught him. I don't think he went in to hurt him, but the sheer speed and recklessness of it, he was out of control. And to McGinn's credit, he got up. If it was me, I'd still be on the turf.
Well, the thing is, McGinn was excellent after it, so I'm not sure after he kind of had the knock, when he woke up, he thought he was John.
Is it the old John Lambie style? He's forgotten who he is. Tell him to Pelly.
That's one of my favourite ever football lines, that one.
It was good.
But I've watched the replay a few times. Somebody had shared that on Twitter, and because Sky didn't show the replay because it was such a bad collision, there's only really the one angle of it. And I refuse to accept that boy's got his eyes on the ball. Like, it just, you look at the direction he's running, he's either completely negligent in that he's not had any awareness of who's around him, or he's not looking at the ball. I just think he's seen an opportunity to smash McGinn and taking it. He should have been off.
For me, I think he's had a bit of a rush of blood to the head. I think I said it earlier on, that I thought Dundee United came at the blocks like firing. I mean, their end product and that wasn't great, but they were up for it. It was like instantaneous, like the speed that they were playing at. And I think he's probably caught up in that, and he's went for it. And I think he's done himself over, because again, I don't think he's went in to do him like any sort of malice way, but I think he's just went so quick, that there's nothing else he could do about it. So I'm already going, so fuck it. Like, and it is reckless. It's a red card. It's a red card for me, like 100%. But I think he's just had a wee bit of a rush of blood, and he's just been that rapid. He's probably caught himself out. He's probably thought, fuck.
Have that moment where he's going, oh no. John, what do you think would have been the outcome if it had been Porteous that had made that tackle?
Good question. I feel like it's a bit of a leading question. Like, it's easy for me to say it would have been an automatic red, but I don't know. Like, after the antics, the referees, was it last year when he got a couple of really soft reds that definitely weren't.
Well, they got a penalty given him against them on Saturday for doing nothing.
Aye. So, I don't know. Like, it's a wee bit like if Manny had Boz. Well, we'll have to wait and see if he makes a challenge like that in the future. But
she does.
Hopefully, with having Gogic in front of him, he.
And if anybody does have pictures of George at his Boz, send them.
You leave his anti-Michael out of this.
Animate your shit, and I'll send you a picture of my boss.
See, this is what happens when Hibs win. We've got nothing to talk about. We've got nothing to drip about. Oh dear.
Right. One of the things that we had down to talk about was Doig and impact, but I think we've probably covered him already. So if we switch to the other side, we kind of started talking about him there, but the impact that McGinn has had on the season. So I think when I always forget which one it is, Paul McGinn signed for us, I don't think anybody saw him as anything other than maybe like a stopgap or cover. I don't think anybody thought he's going to be our first choice right back going into next season. I think that's fair to say. But he's not put a foot wrong this season so far.
No.
Right.
I don't even think Hibs saw him as first choice, given that we had Jason Naismith, David Gray, whether it's true or not, certainly would be linked with Stephen O'Donnell. But he's one of those players that he's not a marquee signing. There's no fanfare about him, but he just turns up, does his job, goes home, and he's not put a foot. I thought he was. In fact, I think during the game last. To be fair, I was on the best last night as well. But I think during the game, I'd texted in our group chat and said McGinn was our best player. I thought he was excellent yesterday. In fact, he's been excellent all 3 of the games that we've played.
I would agree with that. Craig, what are your thoughts?
I've really struggled the past 2 games to pick man of the matches of that. And again, it's just very rare that you have the opportunity to say that about Hibs. I think it's difficult because reset me. But I don't know. I've got 2 games to talk about. And McGinn, I'll start with McGinn. Again, solid. There's nothing else I can say about that. I think he's been brilliant. I think maybe the Livingston game, the only player that I thought I could maybe pick up for not being on the ball was probably Martin Boyle, but he never had a bad game. It just he didn't live up to the first game of the season. I don't know. I'm honestly, my head's everywhere. I'm picking out players in different positions of the park, and I can't. I can't. I can actually. Marciano and his brick foot. What he needs to sort that out. That's the only thing I can complain about. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy that it's the only thing I can complain about. But that boy could punt a ball from Tannadice to Condensed Park. I don't know if you picked up on it the other day. I think I was texting it in your group.
Aye.
Like the amount of times he launches a ball to the opposition goalie or to the manager is ridiculous. And that's the only complaint I've got. Brilliant.
It's not bad if that's the kind of crux of it. Brian, you mentioned partnerships right at the start when we were getting your thoughts. And one of the topics that we had down to talk about tonight was Nisbet and Doidge, or NAD, the NAD partnership. John, is there a better centre forward pairing in Scottish football at the moment?
If there was, their team would be top of the league, surely.
Don't call me Shirley.
No, it's weird how partnerships emerge throughout my time in watching football. You get guys that you put together and you think you two are outstanding, you two are going to score hundreds of goals between you. But actually, they turn out to be shite, and they end up getting broke up. I don't imagine, if you go back to, say, Andy Cole and Dwight York, for example, I don't know if anyone would have looked at them and said, you're going to be one of the best partnerships that the Premiership had seen or will see. And we've got Doidge and Nisbet in there, who didn't play the first game together. They've obviously seen each other in training, but in the last 2 games, they've scored how many goals between them? 5, I want to say.
Yeah,
5 goals in 2 games. So there's definitely something happening there in Hibs between, the partnership between them, the guys we've got out playing wide, the balls are coming at them through the middle, everything. It's a really good time. Like the last 3 games, 9 points, it's just a really good time to be a Hibs fan, to sit back and acknowledge it and appreciate it.
So, Brian, take Nisbet's goals against Livingston. Said about everything, one on the deck, one on the heads, and then a penalty. How would you have assessed his performance in that game?
I actually thought he was, obviously his 3 goals are going to be the talking point, and quite rightly so, but I thought his all-round game, he showed me that he's a far better player than I thought he was. I thought with his back to goal, he was good. He's actually got a bit of pace about him. He put himself about. He linked up the play well. He tracked back. Again, yesterday, very much the same. Great bit of skill out wide. When he stuck it through, I think it was Connolly's legs, and got as a free kick outside the box. But I think him, I'll be honest, it's early doors. But I think Hibs have won a watch there with him. If it was $250,000, for example, I'd imagine knowing Hibs, they'll have been thriftier than that, and he'll have been cheaper than that. But even if it was $250,000, I think they've won a watch there. I don't know if you guys have seen his Instagram picture. I know that the theme of this show so far has been about cocks and balls, etc. I know that's not what we intended to do, but if you've seen his Instagram picture, where it was him at the start of lockdown to where he is now, and he's changing body shape. I'm sure his brother, I think it's his brother's a personal trainer or something.
You're right, aye. I'm just having a look at his Instagram now.
I can see you taking your trousers off right enough. if you see the change. Oh, sexy. Here, looking at your Instagram. Grease saw hanging to the side.
Right, can anybody remember what we're talking about in this bit?
Nisbet,
Right, his Instagram.
body shape.
Aye,
Well,
very impressive. What was your point,
Something for
Clara?
us all to aspire to. I can't even mind what the question was.
His brother,
Aye.
personal trainer, Instagram.
Aye, he's impressed me in the 3 games, and I think if you look at certainly the articles on his career, and they were saying at Partick and whatever, he wasn't focused or he wasn't making the most of his potential.
Aye.
And then you look at that picture, you see what he was, and that's only 3-4 months ago. His body shape compared to what he is now. That's someone that makes me think the penny's dropped. You know, he's got his chance. He's went to League One, scored plenty. His next target was stepping up to the Championship. He's done that, scored plenty. He's come to Hibs. He's got his cell properly ripped. And 3 goals in his second game, 3 good performances. You'd like to think that he's only going to get better and better.
And one of the things that stood out for me, so you mentioned that with Nisbet's work rate, but Doidge as well, Craig. Doidge puts in an absolute power of work, doesn't he?
Oh, brilliant. I think with Doidge, we could see the work rate early doors, if I remember rightly, but he just didn't have that kind of end product, and he wasn't getting lucky enough or whatever. And then it's all just changed. But it's a full credit to the guy, innit? Because he joined Hibs. I wouldn't say he joined Hibs at a bad time. He joined Hibs as it went, like, you know.
Yeah, started turning his power, yeah.
And he was in that kind of group of players that just, including Joe Newell, that it never worked, and the manager wasn't working, and being a striker, we've talked about this before, but like, you know, when you sign a striker, that you just look for goals, don't you? You know, it's not all about work rate as such. It's a big sign in it. But he came over that adversity, and he's another one that's just come on leaps and bounds, and I think he deserves everything he gets. But let's bring ourselves back down to earth. I believe he's not got that long left in his contract.
Nah, you're thinking of Newell. So I think Doidge is still got another couple of years. Newell's up at the end of this season. He didn't have a good game. If you're looking for a negative, Newell wasn't very good against Dundee United, did I think?
No,
I
don't.
Pace of the game.
Yeah, no, I'm not looking for a negative. I'm thinking I seen somebody, and it was somebody with a bit of clout behind him on Twitter, mentioning that Hibs will need to look at keeping Doidge on the books, because the transfer window's opening until October, isn't it? And the problem is, I mean, I know Nisbet's a brand new signing and that, but if Doidge keeps banging in goals and we keep playing well, teams are obviously going to be looking at us. And I think the thing that kind of spooked me a wee bit about it was Jack Ross keeps, I think 2-3 interviews that he's done recently, he keeps talking about how much of an asset Doidge is to him. Like, personally, he's one of my main assets. So I don't know if there's anything in whatever somebody was putting on Twitter that people might be looking at him. But I think we called it, didn't we? Again, Longbangers, the old Mystic Meg going on, that there was the possibility of Doidge and Nisbet being the kind of dream, you know, the dream team as per se, and they've got off to a flyer, and you just can't ask for more. So long may it continue. And I think we called it right in the sense as well that Nisbet, I wouldn't say it was more of a player, but Nisbet's able to make something out of nothing. Like Brian was talking about when he put the ball through the boys' legs, getting free kicks and all that. That's not so much Doidge's game, eh?
Aye.
And I think the mixture of the two of them, if the form keeps up, and the delivery from the midfield, I mean, Christ, I'm talking about delivery from midfield. Scott Allen never played against Livi. He came on in the second half against Dundee United. He never really, I mean, there was a couple of wee touches where I thought that was nice, but he never really contributed as much as what you would normally expect them to, like a wonder pass or whatever, and they're still creating these chances and dogged games there. It's just great for him. It's just great.
There was a lot of really good movement in last night's game. There was a lot of sort of one touches off the chest, players running on, players running, just kind of bamboozling the Dundee United defence because they were in the middle, they were out wide. It just seemed like there was an absolute squadron of Hibs players at one point just bombing forward.
It's a good point. You look at when we scored, so where the goal came from. You've got your left back in the 18-yarder. Do you know, like as Doig picks up the ball and has the touch that Doig picks up by Dougie, and Doig picks up before he scores the goal. So we definitely look like a team with a lot of attacking intent at the moment. And when you marry that up with how solid we're looking defensively, it's not really that much a surprise that we've come away with 3 wins in hindsight. Just talking of performances, and before we move on to kind of previewing the Motherwell game, Daryl Horgan against Livingston, was that his best game in a Hibs shirt, John? You think?
His best game in a Hibs shirt was probably the one at Tynecastle where he scored the 2. So, but he was one of the players that we picked out at the start of the season where I think it was me that suggested that maybe not having fans there was going to allow him the opportunity to bed in, not be too critical of himself. And I think one of the things I've criticised him for in the past is over-hitting some of his crosses, but the cross that he cut back on his right foot with, that he swung in during the Livi game for Nisbet to get the hero was inch perfect. That was exactly what you wanted. Last night against Dundee United, it was a wee bit quieter, but he had a lot of good link-up play with Dougie on the left-hand side. Like, rather than just being, because I kind of think of him sometimes, and I think it's probably one of his strengths, like he properly puts defenders on the back foot because it's almost like tunnel vision. He wants to attack. But there was at least one example last night where he'd sort of run forward a wee bit and realised that he wasn't going to get anywhere, so he's held the ball up in the halfway line and he's brought Doig into play. Dougie, who I think at the end of it had a shot that he screwed wide, but more of that sort of stuff will be perfect. And even I don't necessarily agree with it, but a lot of people have pointed to Horgan and said you only get 60 minutes out of him. And we had a wee laugh last week saying that, you know, if his best place for Hibs is when he comes on as a sub. And I think, Matty, you were saying, or it was your boy that was saying that, you know, bring him on in the first minute and you'll get a cracking performance out of him. But if you only get those 60 minutes or you only get that sub-performance out of him, it probably aligns itself with that overall squad that we have. We've got a really good mixture, and within that mixture, you've got a really good balance across the squad. And Ross, I've said last week and possibly the week before that he's making the best of the squad and the substitution, like the increased number of substitutions that's available to him.
Squad's in a good place now. Craig, is the Motherwell game finished?
It is. It's finished 2 each.
So is that Motherwell still to win a game?
Yep, Motherwell still to win a game, which is good for us. Also for us, Rangers won 3-0, so they've went up to the top of the league. And Ross County Kilmarnock have drawn. So the table as it stands, I'll just flash it up here. We're joint top. Ross County are on 7 points. Motherwell have only got 1 point. Killie have only got 2. See, looking at that table, I know that Aberdeen and Celtic have played a few games due to reasons that we'll probably talk about on here. But there's a lot of teams in there. You know, Kilmarnock, Motherwell, Livingston, even St Johnstone toward, because they had a good end to the season. I mean, it's early doors, and I'm not going to turn in and say that we're going to win the league and all that, because it's all good having a laugh and a joking about it, but the season's played out over 30, 32, 36, whatever the SPFL
in that ballpark, yeah.
Pandemic's not
to let Celtic win it. But this is the best chance for Hibs, and I'm not just saying that because we've won 3 out of 3. As you're saying, the squad depth's looking good. Everybody seems happy. The manager's happy. Defence is solid. We've got a decent goalie for once. Decent strike partnership. We've got a plethora of midfield that we can choose from. I mean, this is the best chance for Hibs to kick on for a season and just... What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at Matthew for laughing at watching John eating a banana because I know that's exactly what he's laughing at.
Shouldn't be funny, eh? Shouldn't it be?
He never used his teeth.
Or his hands.
Barely touched the sides.
It was mere the fact that you were meant to do for it. I thought it was a weird
Even more suspect.
I don't know why I was trying to be subtle if this is going to go on YouTube, but here we are.
Sorry, I didn't mean to detract from the point that you were making there, Craig. So,
You know, word Craig, because I was too busy focusing on John's 1 skin, 2 skin, 3 skin, 4.
Well, if that's Rangers at the top of the league, Brian, what lengths do you think they will be going to this week to create a COVID situation?
They'll all be in. Is it Loudon's Tavern or sitting in Benidorm now? They'll be. They'll do what they can to get the league called off. Finished.
Who would they pin it on? That's a good point. Who would they pin it on? So they're obviously going to have to send a player or two abroad to get the league postponed or cancelled. Do you reckon it should be Brandon Barker for that hairdo?
By the way, what was that photo like, eh? I felt for the boy. Do you know, you can
Brian, please tell me you've not seen this. And this is going to be the...
No, I have seen it. It's
Bobby Charlton, isn't it?
Aye, I mean, he needs to invest. If that's what he's going to go for, he needs to, never mind like Brill Cream or that, you know, that like sort of gungy shite you get for the chemist at 55 pence a tub. He needs to get like liquid nails.
A bit six no doing it. And he's better than that.
If that's what he wants to do, that needs to be sort of welded on. I felt bad for him. I'm no stranger to losing hair myself, but I think when it gets to that stage, just intentionally crack your skull so you can repeat a ticket for the rest of your days. It's ridiculous. Somebody needs to have a word with him.
I don't think they do. I think you'll imagine waking up the next day and kind of just going and see that was see what folk are saying about my performance, and you Google your search itself on the internet, or you kind of plug your name into Twitter, and then all of a sudden you see that. I mean, he must have been devastated by it.
Well, that's going to be John tomorrow, isn't it? He's going to log onto Twitter looking to see what people's feedback is on his comments, and it's just going to be a sort of still
banana
image
memes.
of him chewing on a banana. A viral sensation.
With stuff photoshopped in.
I'll be the big black guy that we've seen the whole lockdown.
Maybe they'll put this on YouTube then.
Right, Motherwell on Saturday is an evening kick-off again. John, how's it going to go?
Who knows? Well, listen.
Well, actually, nobody knows, is it? Like, we're no fucking mystic Meg, John. But the point is, this is to have a stab at it, isn't it?
Why did I get such a hard time?
Good point.
Why did I get such a hard time? Don't be so weak, John.
Fuck, I don't ken. So Motherwell away for Hibs is a tricky fixture. That's all I'm going to say. We probably, like Craig was saying earlier, in terms of like squad and respective starts of the season, it's probably a good opportunity for us to put 12 points on the board. And try and keep kicking on, like keep that momentum going, because the momentum's the most important thing. Just we've managed to, in the last 2 games, I think we've had the same starting 11 both times. Maybe Ross will look at it and say, "Come on, you boys, go out and do the same again." And if he needs to make any changes, he's proved that he can make the wee tweaks that are required. How's that?
Decent. Take that score.
15.
Decent. Right, tennis. Right, Craig, how do you think it's going to go? We're at home, are we? No, you mentioned being away. I think we're at home. There's
my Freudian slip. Sorry,
you lose track. This is the thing. Every game feels like it's away from home now.
Aye, that's fair.
Aye.
I saw it, John. Fucking come out with it.
15 at Hibs.
I'm going to go 2-1 Hibs. And I'm going to go Turnbull to get their goal. And I'm going to go for 1 each, Doige and Nisbet.
Where does Turnbull play? Is he left-sided, right-sided?
Motherwell.
Fuck off. Why do you do this to me?
This is just going to go down as George's last ever appearance on Longbangers. It's just, we're going to get the message right after this. It's going to say, up yours, I'm not coming back.
I'm a bit up the heel.
But I think, funnily enough, I think that's one of the reasons why I think Hibs will come out well in this game, because
Well,
I don't
George leaving.
You are getting abused tonight, aren't you?
Just a wee bit, aye.
No,
Banana splits from podcast.
because I don't think.
Did you say banana splits?
Banana splits from podcast.
Podcast loses appeal.
£8 million loss. No, I think that's one of the reasons that Hibs will come out well in at the weekend, because I think, oh God, I can't remember his name, the Motherwell manager.
Robinson.
Aye. Doesn't he know he's starting 11? And I've watched them again tonight. They don't look great. I think the only kind of decent playmaker that they've got is that Turnbull boy, they've been playing him on the left, and I think he's meant to play more mid, maybe off the right. I could be talking shite there, but others of people have been complaining about it. By the looks of it, he's been playing different starting 11 each time on different positions, and he's just not got anywhere. And from the interviews that he's been doing, I think it was game 2, second game of the season, he'd said to the media something along the lines of, it doesn't matter what I say, you, as in the media, will be looking for any sort of bad statistic to throw at me, so that whatever I say is, basically null and void, which shows to me that he's rattled already.
A bit early in the season for that part, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think I just think Easter Road isn't the place that they want to go at the moment. They've not had a win. Hibs aren't, I can't believe I'm saying this, Hibs aren't the team that you want to be playing at the moment. So, hey, fuck it, 2-1.
It's a fair point, because I think Motherwell's fixtures, if you'd looked at them, you would have expected them to have picked up more points by now.
Aye.
I think that's the kind of the thing about it, is you look at their games, and given how they were last season, you would have thought they would have been doing better. I never really kind of paid attention to who they lost player-wise over the summer. I can't imagine they've got a lot of money to bring players in, so they're maybe just not as good a team this season. Brian, how do you see it going?
5-0.
To Hibs?
Yes.
Aye.
5-0. That's the gut instinct, and the more I think about it, fuck it, 5-0. I'll put a tenner on that.
Nice one. I wish I'd been in the pub all day.
Oh, can we just say before we move on, thank fuck Porteous got that dodgy penalty taken away from me, because I was greeting watching that game with almost being 4-0 Hibs with a Nisbet hat-trick, by the way, because I put absolutely no money on it.
You predicted it, didn't you? With your hairy crystal ball.
I was sweating. My missus is like, why are you so raging? Hibs are 3-0 up. Oh well. Cheers, Ryan. Thanks for that.
Take a 5-0. I can't think if we'll win 5-0, but I think it'll be a Hibs win. The thing that makes me hesitate with it is, I think you said it was something like 40 odd years since we won the first 3 games in a row. So I imagine it's probably longer than that since we won 4 in a row, the opening game of the season. So history is probably against us. But if you look at the fixture on its own and forget what's gone before it, that's a winnable game. So I'm going to go for it. I'm going to say we're going to win the game, and it's going to be, I'll go for 3-9 Hibs. Unless we give away a penalty or something, the referee pulls something out of nowhere to give against us. Aye. Right.
We'll either win comfortably, or it'll be one of those perfect Hibs moments where all expectations and enthusiasms just get wiped out in 90 minutes, where we struggle and huff and puff and we get beat 1-0. And then next Tuesday or Wednesday's podcast will be back to normal, by just being 4 greeting-faced bastards.
Hibs fans are quite fragile with stuff like that as well. Like you could be on like the total test or wave, and then something happens, and all of a sudden it's like the worst thing ever.
Oh, this week we're whistling the Champions League theme tune. If we get beat on Saturday, then it's, who replaces Jack Ross. That's how it goes.
I thought we might have got that performance last night against United, because I had this weird recollection before the game that any time Ron Gordon showed up for a Hibs game, like he jetted in for the States, and it was like he's big return to Easter Road, Hibs got beat. But actually last night we done the opposite. We managed to get the result. So Ron should be a happy man.
Sorry, I was going away there, because when Brian said it goes from whistling the theme tune to who's replacing Jack Ross, and you piped up, John, I thought you were going to come in straight with Paul Heckenbottom there. But I tell you what, though, Ron Gordon flying in, it must have been some game of golf that Jack Ross has had with him, because we're being linked with, was it 2 or 3 players or something after that? After making a couple of signings.
McCrory was one for Rangers. Apparently, like I've just seen before we came on, and that one was dead in the water. Do you care anything about McCrory? Like what sort of player is? I have to say I didn't really know that many of the Rangers players to be able to say whether he would be a good signing or a bad signing. So
defensive midfielder, right, and pretty decent as well. And I think he's a younger boy as well. I think somebody was mentioning about some sort of formation, so I'm not going to go into that. But there's some style of play that Jack Ross, I think, likes, where he could play alongside Gogic, where it would allow maybe Gogic to head forward a wee bit more, be a bit more free, and he would kind of sit back, or just a straight up backup for Gogic to say. Because I think some people are loving it, some people are hating the idea of this Ross McCrory thing, but as much as we're talking up Hibs and how class they are, I don't know how much of it's landing on Gogic, but I worry that if he did pick up an injury or he had to miss a couple of games or whatever, that everything could come tumbling down, and then it's a confidence game in it. You could have 1 or 2 bad games and then it all just kind of stacks up. So I think, a kind of another defensive midfielder is probably a decent shout.
John, were you sort of implying earlier that Ron Gordon was a bit of a Jonah, and he hadn't seen us win too many times?
I listen, I've got absolutely no evidence to back that up, other than
that's the best thing for this podcast, by the way. That's us to a T, isn't it?
I just had this wee gut feeling or recollection that I've seen him coming in for games before, and we hadn't done so well. But then that was part of Heckenbottom era.
Stop talking about him.
Aye. Listen, I don't know why I'm getting this much stick for Heckenbottom, because it's been months. He's gone. He can't hurt you anymore. I keep trying to say this to people.
I can see the tear in your eye.
How pissed off would you be if you bought a football club and you turned out to be a Jonah for it? That'd be a nightmare, eh?
Aye.
How do you think the game of golf went? And so obviously Jack Ross has managed to sweet talk some money out of him. What kind of golfer do you think Ron Gordon is, Brian?
Shite. Left-hander. What do you want me to say, Matthew?
I don't know. I thought you would have had something kind of quick, ready to go with that. Never mind. Doesn't matter. It's no golf podcast, is it?
No, which is just as fucking well, to be honest. I would not be on it. I don't know. I hope he's got a decent handicap, I think.
That's a golf term, by the way.
That's just when you scramble around someone. Something about a birthday, a joke about trousers, and a hole in one.
Aye.
Right.
And albatross. They mention albatrosses as well, don't they?
And bogies. Right, we'll probably leave that there. And leave it there for the podcast for the night, I think, unless anybody's got anything else that you would like to bring up before we depart.
Oh, I've been sat here shiting myself every time you've said Craig, so I'm happy to go.
Aye, I'm more than happy to leave. I feel like I've been rinsed enough tonight.
Oh, John, you make me feel bad for it now.
Good.
I think my hangover
should.
So if anybody's got any stories of John feeling sad, send them in to us.
Oh, Jesus, why did you have to open this can of worms? You know my mates listen.
Oh, right, that's what to do.
Aye, never mind stories that will cheer him up or whatever. Just tell us all the daft stuff that he's done so we can rip him for it.
Aye.
I think munching a banana on YouTube certainly goes straight into his top 5.
Aye.
But we talked about this before. Like this, we were going to call this the Blowjob Tutorial podcast.
Oh, that was the wifey that does it with the grapefruit or something, wasn't it? Was that you that sent that, Craig?
No,
It was me for a change.
Who was it? Was it you, John?
Aye, it was me. If anyone's listening, Google or go to YouTube and type in Blowjob Tutorial.
Why were you searching for that?
I can't remember. I was in the boozer and I was no. Hang on.
Whoa. Right, we've all had a drink.
So long, long before I was ever involved in this podcast, I used to listen to this thing called Sick and Wrong, or the Sick and Wrong podcast, and they had a wee feature of like different things throughout their shows, and this blowjob tutorial happened to come up on that, and it just when I was in the pub pish the other night and I was messaging you guys. I just had this wee spark of inspiration, and I was like, "Oh, if there's a way that we can try and boost some numbers on YouTube and monetize it, call it Blowjob Tutorial, and you'll get in there." And then I was like, "Well, I need to go and find this video now and share it with you."
What is she? I can't believe I'm even interested in this. What does she use? What's our tools?
I got as far as the grapefruit. And then the noise started with that. And I put it off because I burst out laughing and I was watching it away and it's like that. That's enough for me, that. Sean, have you watched the whole thing?
Probably just until the noise that the woman makes. There's no really. I don't really think there's much more after that. We've all had a blowjob, presumably.
I'd like to see her doing it with like a fire. If she wants to get her numbers up, they'd be like a fire extinguisher.
What type?
CO2.
What with the cone?
Obviously.
I thought you meant the whole thing.
I did. I mean, if you want to make it fun, just do that, or a lamppost, or I don't know, a piano. Fuck it. Go wild.
A massive organ. Right, that's a good time to call it quits for the night then. I think enough's enough. Thanks very much for your time, guys. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back after the Motherwell game at some point next week with episode 63 and some more nonsense then. Until then, enjoy being top of the league while it lasts, and we'll see you next time.